On this day in 1963, John Clark scored a rare goal as fans lit fires to keep warm in a 2-1 win over Motherwell. It's rare for matches at Celtic Park to be postponed due to the weather since the installation of undersoil heating almost 40 years ago, but call-offs were a regular occurrence before that. Clubs were always on the lookout for ways to combat frozen pitches, and Celtic were praised for their successful efforts on the day of their home match against Motherwell on the 21st of December 1963. Ger Henderson wrote in that day's Evening Times, "Celtic deserve a big Christmas thank you from every football fan. When other clubs were talking big last spring of electric blankets for their pitch, plastic coverings to keep out the frost, and even of mammoth braziers, manager Jimmy McGrory said nothing. Celtic made no 'we will never again be beaten by the weather' boast, but quietly this week they stockpiled tons of straw. On Thursday they spread it a foot thick on the pitch, and today the ground was just about the best in Scotland. Immediately after today's league match with Motherwell, a small army of men were out relaying the straw, and they have practically guaranteed that Monday night's Glasgow Cup thriller with Partick Thistle will go on." Celtic were on a good run of form. Unbeaten since September, they had just qualified for the quarter-finals of the European Cup Winners' Cup and were still in the league race after 16 matches, not a common occurrence in that era. On a bitterly cold afternoon, they lined up in the classic 11: Fallon, Young, Gemmell, Clark, McNeil, Kennedy, Johnston, Murdoch, Chalmers, Divers, Hughes. Celtic almost conceded after 2 minutes, with John Fallon making a good save to keep the scores level. Ger Henderson wrote of the pitch, "The going was as good as it looked. It was firm but not bone hard, and all the players were able to move fast, turn quickly and still keep their feet." After Motherwell dominated the first 15 minutes, Celtic began to play their way into the game, with John Hughes in particular impressing with his running and footwork. They went ahead on 39 minutes when the Motherwell keeper, Wiley, could only push out Bobby Murdoch's low cross into the path of John Divers, who hit a first-time shot low into the net. You can only imagine what would happen today if fans tried to warm themselves up with a fire, but that's what happened at half-time. The Evening Times reporting, "The shivering fans lit half a dozen fires under the shade of the new enclosure to keep themselves warm during the half-time break." The Glasgow Herald wrote on the 23rd of December 1963, "The little fires which supporters lit on the terracing at Celtic Park on Saturday to warm their frozen feet flickered brightly but briefly in the dusk, and then were extinguished for lack of fuel." Joe McBride started the second half at outside left for Motherwell after being injured in a first-half clash with Billy McNeil, and Celtic went 2 ahead on 67 minutes when Jimmy Johnston cut a low corner kick back to John Clark on the edge of the box, and he swept a daisy cutter through a forest of legs and under the diving keeper. The limping Joe McBride proved he was still a danger as he pulled one back for Motherwell with a long-range effort in the 81st minute. The Glasgow Herald reporting, "Fallon, who had otherwise played well, standing stock still as McBride's ground shot from all of 30 yards flashed past him." The Evening Times' prediction that the straw would ensure Celtic's match against Partick Thistle on the Monday night proved accurate. John Clark is usually credited with scoring only 3 goals for Celtic. That day's in the league, 1 in the Scottish Cup and 1 in the League Cup. But 2 days later, he scored in that Glasgow Cup tie against Partick Thistle, which takes his tally to 4. Or 5, if you count the own goal he scored while playing against Celtic for Morton in September 1971.